The humans were a nuisance. Dangerous, yes, but predictable. At least, that's what the Zurich High Command believed when they finalized the Virex protocol. The humans had pushed too far, too fast. First, it was the disputed mining sectors in the outer rings. Then, the unauthorized terraforming experiments in neutral space. And when they destroyed a Confederation cruiser in retaliation for what they called preemptive aggression, the Council knew containment would no longer suffice. Extermination wasn't necessary, or so the scientists claimed. Not when nature could do it for them. Virex 9 was the answer, more elegant than war, more final than treaties. A planet catalogued as Class Omega, marked uninhabitable even by synthetics. Its atmosphere was a constant chemical war zone. Tectonic activity reshaped its surface hourly. Native predators survived by consuming radiation and liquefying bone. No species had lasted more than 6 planetary cycles. None had even mapped it. The humans would be dropped there without weapons, without ships. Just a company of their so-called elite soldiers, chosen specifically for their defiance and battlefield tenacity. A gesture of irony. Let them test their survivalist myths in real conditions. Let the legends die in silence. As the deployment pods launched from the orbital cruiser, the Zurich commander observed with a detached fascination. Hundreds of kilometers below, Virex's volcanic surface roared in anticipation. The commander turned to the attending scientist. What are the statistical projections? 6% survive the first 12 hours. 0 beyond 72. Acceptable. The Confederation recorded the broadcast. A message sent across the galaxy, voiced with diplomatic neutrality, masked by malicious triumph. Human prisoners have been granted exile in accordance with our non-lethal resolution protocols. Let the ecosystem of Virex determine their fate. Unofficially, it was a mass execution, but no one would say so on record. Surveillance drones circled the planet in geostationary lock. The High Command wanted evidence, proof that their solution worked. Propaganda required images, footage, martyrs in flames. They waited eagerly for the screams, the chaos, the degradation of Earth's most vicious warriors. What they got instead was silence. 12 hours passed, then 18. A few blips vanished, pods destroyed on entry. But too many signals remained active. Heat signatures persisted. Movement patterns continued. Strange formations began to appear, geometric clusters, oddly shaped to avoid lava flows and acidic geysers. One junior officer voiced concern. Are they building something? The commander dismissed it. Reflexive, primitive instinct. They'll be gone by cycle's end. But they weren't. On day 2, one of the drones captured brief footage. A human figure dragging the carcass of a native beast, skin half-melted, armor cobbled from shredded equipment and something else, organic material? On day 3, the first sensor malfunction occurred. Not planetary interference. A direct signal jam. The scientist's voice trembled. They're adapting, faster than expected. The commander didn't answer. His eyes fixed on the projection screen, on the growing number of active life signs, on the faint but undeniable pulse of something humanity had never displayed before. Control. The countdown clock froze. No one touched it. The air burned in her lungs, every breath like inhaling acid. Sergeant Alara Cruz forced herself to exhale slowly, one hand gripping a jagged rock for balance, the other scanning vitals on her wrist pad. 3 dead on impact. 2 more melted before they'd even exited their pods. 27 left. 27 humans dumped like garbage onto a living hell. She didn't waste time with panic. "Perimeter!" she shouted. "Get barriers up. Filter suits sealed." Her voice cut through the chaos like steel. The team obeyed without hesitation. Marines, engineers, ex-special forces, they weren't just survivors. They were the best Earth had. And they knew better than to question her in a place like this. The terrain shifted under their boots. Virex 9 wasn't just hostile, it was alive. Lava rivers bled sideways across black stone, hissing as they collided with acidic rainfall. Fanged serpents emerged from fissures only to vanish again, leaving behind hollowed-out craters soaked in neurotoxin. The sky pulsed red and green, storms cracking open with chemical lightning. They didn't try to run. Running meant death. Crews had them dig in. Using scavenged pod plating, their emergency shelters became shielded domes. She ordered atmospheric samples taken, filtered through makeshift condensers. It took 12 hours to get a single vial of clean water. One Marine, Harlan, reprogrammed a broken drone into a mobile sensor unit using only duct tape and raw stubbornness. It worked for about 2 minutes. By the end of the first day, they'd lost another 2. 25 now. Crews didn't grieve. Not yet. She made notes, logged every hazard, studied everything that tried to kill them. Observe, adapt, overcome, she whispered. Earth had taught them that. Earth, with its droughts, its quakes, its wars, its extinction events. Virex 9 thought it was special. But crews had seen Detroit after the riots. She'd marched through irradiated jungles in Brazil. "You're just another Thursday," she told the planet. By the second night, they were eating. Not rations, those were gone. They'd hunted a Virex crawler, skinned it, tested its tissues for toxins. It had 28 eyes and a blood pH that dissolved metal. They cooked it anyway, neutralized the acid with powdered concrete from the broken pods. It wasn't gourmet, but it didn't kill them. That was the turning point. Morale didn't rise. It hardened. No one laughed. But they stopped asking how long they had. They started asking what was next. On day 4, they struck back. Crews led a sortie to capture one of the airborne leech flocks nesting above their camp. They lost one soldier, torn apart midair, but retrieved enough organic material to create insulation for their armor. Virex's creatures were armor-plated nightmares, so they became armor. By the 5th day, they were mobile. They had suits that resisted the rain, boots that gripped lava crust, makeshift weapons forged from predator bones and reactor shards. Crews called them second skins. They stopped calling Virex a Deathworld. Now they called it a challenge. And it had their full attention. The readings made no sense. Commander Tillaner paced slowly across the observation deck, mandibles twitching in irritation as new telemetry poured in from Virex 9. It had been 10 cycles. 10. The humans were not only alive, they were expanding. Their life signals, instead of blinking out, had multiplied in density and strength. Areas that had once been too unstable to even scan were now occupied zones, marked with strange thermal patterns and modified electromagnetic fields. "This is incorrect," Tillaner growled, tapping a claw against the data stream. "There must be interference." The lead science officer shook his crested head. "No interference, Commander. We've recalibrated twice. The human signals are authentic. And they're building something large." On the main display, a faint heat map revealed a rough perimeter, too organized to be natural. Power signatures radiated from within, biothermal and mechanical interwoven. It looked like a nest, or a base, or both. Another officer stepped forward, pale and rigid. "Recon Drone 17 went dark during its descent. We received partial footage before transmission ceased." The video played, grainy but unmistakable. A human, wearing something that pulsed with a faint blue light, looked up as the drone approached. He lifted a modified rifle, half metal, half alien exoshell, and fired once. The screen cut to black. The room was silent. Tillaner clicked low in his throat, something between a growl and a hiss. How did they reverse-engineer drone tech? They didn't. Not fully. But they've integrated components. Crude, but effective. "This isn't possible," another officer muttered. "The environment should have liquefied them." "They've adapted to it," the scientist replied. "They're harvesting materials, using native biology to reinforce their defenses. One of their thermal rigs appears to be drawing energy from a lava vent. They've stabilized it." That word, stabilized. No species had ever used it in reference to Virex. The council began to splinter. Some demanded immediate bombardment. Others advised caution, warning that interference could trigger a broader conflict with Earth. The humans had been exiled under treaty conditions. Any preemptive strike now could be considered a breach of interstellar law. Tillaner didn't care about treaties. He stared at the footage again, at the human's face. There was no desperation there, no madness, just calculation, focus, as if Virex was no longer an enemy, but a puzzle. Day 15, the scientist whispered. They should all be dead. Instead, Tillaner murmured, they're evolving. A warning beacon blared. Sensor failure. Drone, 21 lost. Cause, unknown hostile interference. A third anomaly pinged, unidentified signal originating from the surface, aimed directly at the command vessel. The message was brief. You wanted nature to kill us, but we are nature now. The command deck froze. Tillaner's claws clenched behind his back. They hadn't rid themselves of the human problem. They had made it worse. Much worse. 30 cycles after the drop, the surface of Virex 9 was no longer a wasteland, it was a fortress. The Bastion, as Sergeant Cruz called it, rose from the volcanic crust like a living monument to human will. It pulsed softly with biosynthetic life, a fusion of human engineering and native organisms, reshaping the planet's hostile fury into something that obeyed human command. The acid rains fell, but now the Bastion's shields absorbed the corrosive storms. Lava flows shifted course at the humans' behest, redirected into geothermal reactors that powered their expanding colony. The deadly predators of Virex, once hunters, were now harvested, farmed for resources or integrated into the armor and tools of the survivors. The planet that was designed to end humanity had become a cradle for their empire. Orbital sensors captured movement. Dozens of human silhouettes, armed and confident, patrolling the perimeter. Scouts sent from Earth's government ships watched in awe and fear as the humans demonstrated control over the environment itself. Automated drones, repurposed from the fallen Xeric fleet, hummed under human command. When the Confederation dispatched a fleet to reclaim Virex 9, they were met not with surrender, but with a deadly counterstrike. The Bastion unleashed an electromagnetic pulse, disabling the alien ship systems and forcing a retreat. The message was clear. This was no longer a prison. It was a home, a fortress, a warning. From the bridge of the retreating flagship, the Xeric captain's final transmission crackled across space. The humans, they have not only survived, they have transcended. Virex 9 belongs to them now. Back on Earth, celebrations rang out. What was meant to be humanity's end became proof of their unbreakable spirit. Virex 9 was declared a sovereign colony, a symbol that no environment, no enemy, could extinguish the human flame. Sergeant Cruz's voice echoed through the comm channels, calm and resolute. Send us to your nightmares. We'll make them dream of us. The galaxy had underestimated humans one last time. They thought the Deathworld would be the final chapter. Instead, it was just the beginning.